King Kong, 1976, and that was directed by John Guillerman, produced by Dino de Laurentiis, and stars Jeff Bridges, Charles Grodin, and Jessica Lange in her first acting debut in her movie. This film was released on December 17th, 1976, and domestically it made $52,614,445. There is no worldwide revenue on this film that I looked up on where I usually look up Box Office Mojo. There's no worldwide gross, but out of that 52 million, its opening weekend it made $7,023,921. There wasn't really no competition with it. I think it was the only one on that opening weekend, well, when it opened, and it was around the Christmas season too, so a lot of movies were kind of not coming out around then. And this movie also, the music, as you can hear in the background, is composed by John Barry, who is famously well known for the orchestra in the James Bond series, as well as the James Bond theme, which we all know. Same orchestra, same conductor. The plot and story of this film, it starts with an American vessel called the Petrox Explorer that goes leaves the port of Surabaya and goes on the search for oil on an uncharted island. But once they get to that island, they witness something bigger, and as Charles Grodin exclaims in the film, colossal and magnificent. And what they find is a giant gorilla on this island, known as the Island of the Skull. And this movie is also based off the original 1933 film by Marion C. Cooper and Ernest B. Schoedsack. So, as this ship finds the island, a couple of the actors, some of the characters go onto this island along with their stowaway, who is Jessica Lange, whose character's name is Dwan, who goes on this island. And as they go on this island, they find a gigantic wall that separates the natives of the island compared to whatever is behind that wall. But as they see Dwan, they want to make an offer to trade their women for her, because they've never seen blondes, and they think a blonde would be a perfect gift for their so-called god behind that wall. As they refuse, they shoot the guns and scare the natives away, but then as night falls on the ship, the natives capture Dwan and sacrifice her to their god, which we now see as a giant gorilla named Kong, which is also, their king. So the gorilla takes Dwan into the jungle, whereas the crew members, who are led by Jeff Bridges' character Jack Prescott, goes and finds the gorilla and saves Dwan. But as they go through this forest, and the gorilla is way past them, and they go through this treacherous jungle, like a very native, jungly, rainforesty type jungle. And as they continue on and on into the jungle, they come across a log bridge, which we all know from the other King Kong movies, a famous scene where they cross a hollow log bridge. But as they halfway across the log bridge, they meet King Kong, and trouble ensues, where Kong shakes the men off the log into the chasm below, and then Jack Prescott goes into a cave underneath and takes shelter, but as Kong is trying to grab him, and then Kong destroys the log bridge, having the log fall into the chasm, and then goes back to Dwan. But then Jack Prescott continues on, goes to save, but doesn't give up. It continues to save Dwan, and as this happens, he finds Kong and Dwan in Kong's lair. But as he tries to save her, a giant snake, which looks very, very fake, sorry to spoil that, attacks Kong and Dwan. And as Kong is fighting this long snake, he manages to save Dwan, but as soon as he saves her, they have to run back to the wall because Kong has defeated the snake in a very weird, bloody massacre, and chases after Jack and Dwan. And as they continue, Charles Grodin's character, I can't think of the name, makes a trap for this gorilla once he destroys the wall. And they are preparing this trap, and as this happens, they see that Jack and Dwan have made it to the wall, and as they got there, Kong is right on their heels, coming up to them, and they close the gate in the wall, and then Kong gets there and bangs through the wall, through the gate, manages to break through, falls into the trap, and the natives feel sorry and sympathy for their god, which is then taken to New York for promotion and display. And as he is in New York at Shea Stadium, I believe it is, he wreaks havoc. He escapes his cage, which was supposed to be an escape-proof cage, but, you know, movies, giant monster, gorilla. Escapes his cage and then wreaks havoc on Shea Stadium, and then wreaks havoc not only there, but tries to find Dwan. But as Dwan and Jack escape, Kong manages to destroy Lower Manhattan. He destroys the subway and takes a girl who he thought is Dwan, but instead notices it's not Dwan and throws the girl and destroys the subway train and continues his pursuit after Jack and Dwan. And they go through this. They go all through this New York City. They go through Lower Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Kong also tries to find them too and flees from the army. And Kong finally finds Dwan in a restaurant that was in a blackout due to Kong hitting the power wires, which then makes a complete blackout in New York City. But then Kong finds Dwan, takes her, and goes to what is very similar to his native homeland, and that would be his lair, which would be the World Trade Center. It's not the Empire State Building like in the original movie or in the remake. No, this one was very modern, and they decided to have him climb the World Trade Center, and which was brand new. I think it was the Trade Center was brand new back in '76, if I'm not mistaken. And so Kong gets to the World Trade Center complex, roars at the army, but then starts climbing the Trade Center, and that's a very high building before, September 11th, rest in peace, all those 3,000 people, and climbs all the way up there, but then manages to fight against military copters, which circle around him, shoot him, and kill him, which then he falls to his death down to the ground below in the World Trade Center complex. And as this happens, we hear his heartbeat very slowly for a couple minutes, and then his heartbeat stops and he is dead. Thoughts on this movie? I think it's a good movie, despite there's a lot of things lost compared to the other King Kong movies. Like, King Kong is not fighting no dinosaurs, no monsters. The only thing they could really get is a rubber snake, which is, I guess, according to them, is all they could fit in their budget. But they supposedly, I've heard in reviews that they didn't want dinosaurs in the first place. They wanted it to be an uncharted island, just Kong himself, which I don't know why, but that would be a pretty boring island for that gorilla to not have any competition. It just seems very lonesome for the gorilla. And a famous film artist by the name of Rick Baker that we all don't know, he doesn't get credit for, but now does. He made 4 different gorilla suits, and the close-ups of King Kong's face, and just like any close-up is his face, him holding Dwan in his hand at the waterfall scene, although that is actually Rick Baker in a costume and mask as King Kong, and in the ship when he's getting shipped to New York in that cage, that's also Rick Baker in a King Kong suit. Some interesting facts. Since back during this time they wanted to be modern, the World Trade Center was the tallest building in New York City at this time, so the Empire State Building was actually out, and the Empire. Yeah, and what was funny is at the time when the film was released, there were people dressed in gorilla suits on the 102nd floor of the Empire State Building, and what they did is they picketed the film and picketed the scene of Kong being on the Trade Center. Because, I mean, if you want to be true to the original story, it's got to be the Empire State Building. But I see why they chose the Trade Center, because it's modern. Back in the day, it was the tallest building in New York. I get it. Like, I don't feel any negativity about that, really. But yeah, if you got to stay true to the story, it should be the Empire State Building. This movie also was nominated for 2 Academy Awards for Best Cinematography and Best Sound in 70s. The awards were in 77. So King Kong got nominated for Best Cinematography, which the cinematography is great. The close-ups, the zoom-ins, the pans, like especially when they zoom into King Kong's face, the gorilla, and also the wide shot of Dwan in his hand and him blowing blow drying her. There's good medium shots of King Kong in New York City. There's good shots of a good wide shot of him destroying the subway, and all. There's just really good cinematography in the film. And it was also nominated for Best Sound because, I mean, King Kong's vocal voice was done very well, and kind of similar to old dinosaur roars back in the 50s and stuff. And yeah, it was very, very, very good. The sound was great. And there's also, if you look on YouTube, you can find like many like deleted scenes and stuff, but I guess there was an extended TV version that isn't in the DVDs or the films that we know now. It is like an extended TV. I don't know if they released it on DVD or if it's like very like one of those rare, like you really got to find it rare DVDs. I know maybe on Blu-ray, but yeah, there's an extended TV version of the film, and I'm sure you can find those deleted scenes and extended scenes on YouTube too. I think I've seen a few of them, and it's just mainly like different. Some scenes are like extended, some scenes try to work on character development. One scene is the extended Kong snake fight scene. There's just not a lot of deleted scenes. I think there's one of him like just grabbing a car and throwing it into a building as he's rampaging through Lower Manhattan in New York. But yeah, my take on this film, I think it's a good film. The cinematography is great. The sound is great. People just don't acknowledge this film as much as the other ones, and people just kind of throw this film as like a really not so well-known film, which I think it doesn't get as much credit as it should. I think that Dino De Laurentiis and John Guillerman did very well on this film, but there could have been things that could have been there are things that could have been better. There could have been dinosaurs. There could have been an awesome dinosaur fight scene. There could have been some like good like more rampaging moments in New York City. There could be so much things, but I understand that they were under a very strict budget on this, and that they had so much they could work with. And plus, at the time, too, was right as soon as they were in the middle of filming this, Universal got the rights to King Kong, because King Kong at the time was in the public domain, which anyone could remake it, but then Universal got the rights in mid-'76, but this movie was halfway through in mid-'76, so the rights, they couldn't really fight the rights unless the film was up in the air but it obviously wasn't. So yeah, it was just a lot of this film took a lot of like it was only remake because they want a lot of studios wanted to remake King Kong. Jaws was becoming a big hit, and then they wanted to respond with this. That's why there's a famous line that the director said about King Kong is that when Jaws the shark died, I don't know if I got this quote right. When Jaws the shark died, no one cried for the shark, but if they see our King Kong, they will cry for the gorilla. I don't know why that specific stance by the director is always up there. I think because he wants the audience to feel sympathy for the gorilla, despite in like 1933 when the gorilla was portrayed as a monster and the girl and Fay Wray's character Andera was screaming, and we all thought of King Kong originally as this monster, and not really feel sympathy for him, or feel like feel any emotion to the gorilla. We thought of King Kong before this film. They thought of King Kong before this film as a monster gorilla, but this film tries to bring those emotions and relate to the gorilla and give sympathy for him. So that is my review on King Kong. Please leave a comment, like my video, tell me what you like about the movie, whether you've seen it. Just talk about it to me. I know there's some like good moments, and also like compare it to the other King Kong movies. See how comment about how it's relatable to the other King Kong movies, which I do have the other two movies on my YouTube channel on review, so take a look at them. Yeah, just subscribe to my channel, like my video, and yeah, this is Max Schroeder Productions. Thank you for watching my video.